The wedding hall was glowing with warm lights, soft music, and colorful flowers. People laughed, hugged one another, and took pictures. It was a happy day, a perfect day. Until the doors opened and a tall black man stepped inside. He did not smile. He did not speak. He just walked in slowly, quietly, like a shadow entering a world of light. At first, nobody noticed him. But when they did, the air in the hall changed. Conversations stopped. Forks froze in the air. Eyes turned toward him one by one, like magnets pulled by something strange and unwanted. The man's face was calm, almost empty, but his dark eyes held a quiet pain. A story nobody understood. Guests moved away from him without saying a word. Mothers pulled their children closer. A group of teenagers whispered and laughed nervously, pretending they weren't scared. Some men looked at him with suspicion, like he didn't belong there, like he wasn't supposed to walk into a place filled with expensive clothes and false smiles. The man didn't react. He stood near the back wall, arms by his sides, shoulders heavy. He looked around the room as if searching for someone. His eyes scanned the tables, the flower stands, the white curtains hanging from the ceiling. He kept breathing slowly, patiently, almost sadly. A waiter carrying drinks stopped near him, stared, and quickly walked away without offering anything. A woman in a golden dress whispered loudly to her husband, "Who invited him?" The husband shrugged but stared with the same cold look. The groom's family noticed the tension and became alert. The groom's older brother walked toward the security guard and pointed at the black man from a distance. The guard nodded, tapping the radio on his belt, waiting for the man to make one wrong move. But he didn't. He just stood there. Quiet, still, almost invisible yet impossible to ignore. A little boy, running around with a toy car, accidentally bumped into the man's leg. The man stepped back gently so the boy wouldn't fall. But the child looked up at him, froze in fear, and ran away crying. His mother rushed over, glaring at the black man as if he had done something terrible. Whispers grew louder. "He looks dangerous. Why is he here? Is he from her past? Maybe he came to stop the wedding." But the man ignored every voice. He kept watching the empty aisle where the bride would soon appear. His eyes softened when he looked at the white petals scattered on the ground. Something in those petals reminded him of something painful. Something buried deep inside him. The music suddenly stopped. Everyone straightened up. A woman gasped loudly. The bride had arrived. She stood at the entrance, her white dress glowing under the lights, her veil floating like soft smoke. Everyone clapped and smiled. Everyone except the black man. He didn't move. But the moment the bride's eyes found him, everything changed. Her smile faded. Her steps slowed. Her breath shortened. Her hands began to shake. She stopped walking altogether. The entire hall became silent, confused by her reaction. The groom stared from the front, his smile falling into worry. The bride's eyes filled with shock, recognition, and something deeper, something close to fear or maybe heartbreak. She slowly lifted her veil, her lips trembling. The guests looked at her, then at him, then back at her again. Nobody understood what was happening. The groom took a step forward and whispered, "What's wrong?" The bride did not answer him. She kept staring at the black man. The man nobody wanted there. The man everyone feared. And then she spoke softly, but clear enough for the entire hall to hear. "You came." Her voice cracked on the last word, and the silence in the hall became heavier, sharper, almost dangerous. Nobody knew what those two words meant. Nobody knew what secret connected them. But they all felt one thing. This wedding was no longer simple. And the story had just begun. The bride stood frozen at the entrance, staring at the black man like she had seen a ghost from another lifetime. Her fingers tightened around her bouquet. The soft petals crushed under her grip, falling slowly to the floor like tiny pieces of her past breaking free. The guests looked from her to him, confused and hungry for answers. The groom's smile had completely disappeared. His jaw tensed, his eyes narrowing with a mix of fear and uncertainty. The black man stayed silent, unmoving, his posture calm, but his eyes holding a storm. Only he and the bride seemed to understand what her words truly meant. She took one step forward, then another. The hall grew so quiet that even the sound of her heels hitting the floor echoed like small explosions. The groom tried to step toward her, but her father held his arm, whispering, "Let her go. Something is wrong." The bride reached the center of the aisle and stopped, breathing heavily, like the air around her had suddenly become thicker. Her eyes never left the black man's face, eyes filled with shock, pain, and a hint of something she was trying hard to hide. A woman in the crowd whispered, "Does she know him?" Another said, "Maybe he's her ex." Someone else murmured, "Maybe he's here to ruin everything." The bride finally spoke, her voice trembling. "Why? Why are you here?" It wasn't angry. It wasn't joyful. It was frightened. The black man lowered his head slightly, as if he expected this question. But he didn't answer. His silence only made the tension in the hall stronger. The groom's family couldn't hold back anymore. The groom's older brother stepped forward, pointing a finger at the stranger. "Who are you?" he demanded. "Why are you staring at the bride like that?" Still, the black man said nothing. His breathing stayed calm, controlled, but his eyes were wet, shining with a pain he didn't want anyone to see. The bride turned around and raised her voice. "Stop! Everyone, stop!" Her voice cracked, loud enough to make people sit back in their chairs. She walked closer to the black man now, slowly, like she was walking toward a memory she wasn't ready to face. When she was only a few steps away from him, she whispered again, "You came. After all this time." The groom couldn't stay quiet any longer. He pushed past his father and bride's father, walking straight toward them. "Who is he?" the groom demanded, anger rising. "Tell me right now. Why is he here on our wedding day?" The bride turned toward him, her eyes full of conflict. Her lips opened, but the words didn't come out. She wasn't ready to say the truth. Not yet. Not like this. The groom's voice grew louder. "Answer me, Emily. Who is this man?" Before she could respond, two security guards walked closer, ready to remove the black man. Their hands hovered near his arms. The crowd leaned in, watching like it was a movie scene. The black man finally spoke, his voice deep, low, and steady. "I'm not here for trouble," he said. The hall felt his voice. It was heavy, honest, and filled with something no one could describe. The bride's eyes softened again. "Please don't touch him," she said to the guards. The guards stepped back. They didn't understand why the bride was protecting him, but her voice had authority. The groom looked betrayed. "Emily, why are you defending him?" Her breathing grew uneven. Her fingers trembled as she held her bouquet, petals still dropping to the floor. "Because," she whispered, voice breaking. She looked at the black man again. Her eyes filled with tears she had tried to hide for years. "Because if he leaves, I can't continue this wedding." The entire hall gasped. The groom froze. Someone dropped a glass that shattered on the floor. The black man closed his eyes in pain, as if those words pulled a scar open in his heart. The bride's shoulders shook. Her voice cracked again, and she whispered the truth that scared everyone. "He is the reason I'm standing here alive today." The hall erupted in whispers and shock, and the story moved into darker, deeper secrets no one was ready for. The hall felt colder now, as if someone had opened a door to a world of secrets. The bride's words still echoed in everyone's mind. "He is the reason I'm standing here alive today." Nobody knew what it meant. Nobody understood how this silent black man connected to her life. But everyone wanted answers. The groom's face turned pale, then red, then pale again. He stepped toward the bride, voice shaking between anger and fear. "What do you mean he saved your life?" he demanded. "Emily, what are you talking about?" The bride wiped her eyes, trying to breathe, but her hands trembled too much. The bouquet fell from her grip and hit the floor with a soft thud. "I can't explain." "Not yet," she whispered. The groom turned sharply toward the black man, his eyes burning, his fists tight. "Who are you?" he shouted. "Tell me why you came. Tell me what you want." The black man didn't move. His calmness only made the groom angrier. The man's deep voice finally broke through the tension. "I don't want anything," he said softly. The simplicity of his words made the groom step back for a moment, almost surprised. But then the anger returned. "You expect me to believe that?" The groom hissed. "You walk into my wedding, make my bride shake in fear, and then stand there like nothing is wrong?" The black man held his gaze, but his eyes were not aggressive. They were tired, old, heavy with memories nobody else knew. "I didn't come to ruin anything," he said. "I only came to see if she is safe." The hall erupted in whispers. "Safe from what? Safe from who? Safe why?" The groom clenched his jaw. "Emily," he said, turning back to her, "why didn't you tell me about him? Why hide something like this from me?" Her voice cracked. "I tried to forget. I tried so hard." "Forget what?" The groom snapped. "What happened between you two?" Before she could answer, the groom's mother stood up from her chair, shaking her head in disgust. "This is not right," she said loudly. "This man should not be here. He is disturbing the wedding." Other guests murmured in agreement. Some nodded. Some simply watched the drama unfold like it was entertainment. The black man bowed his head slightly, as if he expected this reaction. He didn't defend himself. He didn't argue. He just stood there, letting their judgment fall on him like rain on stone. But the bride couldn't take it anymore. "Stop!" she cried, her voice trembling with frustration. "Stop blaming him for everything." The groom's father stepped forward now, trying to sound calm but failing. "Emily, if this man is dangerous, he's not dangerous," she yelled. "He saved me. He protected me. He is the only reason I'm alive today." The groom's father looked at the black man again, this time with a mix of confusion and fear. "Protected you from what?" he asked. The bride shook her head again. "I can't tell the whole story. Not here. Not yet." The groom moved closer to her, his voice lower now but more painful. "Emily, I'm your future husband. You trust him more than me?" Her lips trembled. Tears filled her eyes faster now. "This has nothing to do with trust," she whispered. "This has to do with the past. A past I never wanted to open again." The groom closed his eyes for a moment, trying to control his anger. When he opened them again, he spoke with a cold voice. "So choose," he said. "If he stays, I leave." The hall gasped. The bride froze. The black man's eyes widened just a little, the first real reaction he had shown all evening. The bride whispered, almost too quietly, "Please, don't make me choose." But the groom stood firm. "I'm done waiting," he said. "Tell the truth. Right now." Everyone held their breath. The music had long stopped. Even the children were silent. The bride's heart pounded like thunder inside her chest. She turned slowly toward the black man, her voice breaking into pieces. "If he leaves," she whispered, "this wedding stops." Those words struck the hall like lightning. The groom's face twisted in shock. The guests' jaws dropped. For the first time, the black man looked deeply into her eyes, and pain flashed across his face, raw and real. He whispered, almost too softly to hear, "You don't owe me that." But she shook her head, tears falling. "Yes," she said. I do. The hall didn't know what was coming next. But they all knew one thing. This wedding was cracking open a secret that had been buried for years. Silence hung in the air like a thick cloud. The bride's last words, "If he leaves, this wedding stops," were still echoing inside every guest's mind. Some stared at her in shock. Others looked at the black man with fear, confusion, even guilt. Nobody understood what kind of past could shake a bride like this. The groom stepped back as if someone had slapped him. His chest rose and fell fast. His voice came out low and sharp, like a knife cutting through the quiet. "Emily, you owe me an explanation. Not tomorrow. Not later. Now." But Emily didn't look at him. Her eyes stayed locked on the black man, the silent stranger who carried a storm in his heart. Her breath trembled as she tried to speak. "I never wanted this to come out today," she whispered. The groom clenched his fists. "Then when?" He snapped. "After we exchanged vows? After we built a whole life together based on secrets?" Her father stepped forward, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Emily," he said softly, "you need to calm down. You're scaring everyone." Tears filled her eyes, but she shook her head slowly. "No, Dad. They need to know. All of them. Not just him." The black man, still silent, still calm, looked away as if he didn't want to hear what she was about to say. As if the truth itself was a wound he had tried to bury long ago. Emily turned to the guests. Her voice cracked. "Everyone, please sit down." Some hesitated, but slowly the crowd obeyed. Chairs creaked. People leaned forward. The room felt smaller now, like the truth itself was pulling the walls closer. The groom refused to sit. He stood stiff, staring at the black man with cold suspicion. Emily wiped her tears and began, her voice barely above a whisper. "There's something I've hidden for many years. Something that changed my life. Something that almost ended it." A wave of gasps moved through the room. The groom's mother leaned forward, whispering sharply, "Is this man a criminal? Did he hurt you?" "No," Emily shouted, surprising even herself. "He didn't hurt me. He saved me." Her words struck the room with force. Emily looked at the black man again. He shook his head softly, as if silently begging her not to continue. But she did. "I was 14, she said, her voice shaking. "There was a night I thought I would never escape." A murmur spread across the hall. The groom's eyes widened, fear creeping into his expression. Emily continued, "I was walking home from school. It was raining, and 3 men in a car drove behind me slowly. I tried to run, but..." Her voice broke. She swallowed hard. The black man whispered, "You don't have to say this." But she nodded. "No, I do. They deserve to know why you're here." She looked at the guests again, her eyes wet and brave. "They grabbed me, pulled me into the car. I screamed. I fought. Nobody came." The groom's hands dropped to his sides. His anger melted into shock. Emily breathed shakily. "But someone heard me. Someone saw. Someone risked his own life to stop them." She pointed toward the black man with a trembling finger. "Him." All eyes snapped toward the stranger. Emily continued, voice stronger now. "He fought all 3 men alone. He broke their car window. He pulled me out. He carried me through the rain. He didn't leave me until I was safe." The hall went completely still. The groom whispered, stunned, "Why didn't you tell me this?" Emily lowered her head. "Because I wanted to forget that night. I wanted to erase it forever. And he disappeared before the police arrived. I never saw him again. I thought he was gone. I thought maybe he didn't want to be found." The black man's deep voice finally spoke. "You were a child," he said softly. "I wasn't going to make you relive it." Emily looked at him with tears pouring. "I looked for you. For years. A woman from the groom's side suddenly stood up, anger sharp in her eyes. "This is a lie," she shouted. "Why would a stranger risk his life for her? It doesn't make sense. This sounds like a drama story, not the truth." People turned their heads toward her. The groom's father added loudly, "Yes. Why come now? Why show up at her wedding if you disappeared back then? What do you want from her?" The accusations echoed across the hall, sharp and cruel. The bride flinched. The black man lifted his head slowly, his eyes darkening with old pain. And for the first time that night, he opened his mouth, not calm, not quiet, but with a voice that carried fire. "I didn't come to take anything. I came because someone sent me a message." The hall leaned forward, saying she was in danger again. The words hit the room like a thunderbolt. Someone sent me a message, saying she was in danger again. People turned in their seats. Some gasped. Others whispered in panic. The groom's father looked furious. The groom's mother clutched her necklace tightly, eyes wide with disbelief. Emily's breath caught in her throat. "Danger? What do you mean? Who sent you that message?" The black man didn't answer immediately. His jaw tightened, his eyes flickering toward the exit door, as if remembering something. When he finally spoke, his voice was low and controlled. "3 days ago," he said, "I received a message from an unknown number. No name, no picture. Just one sentence." He paused. The hall leaned forward. "She is not safe. If you care for her, go to the wedding." The groom's anger returned full force. "This is ridiculous," he shouted. "Emily has been fine. No one is threatening her. Who would send something like that?" Emily's hands trembled again. "Maybe it was a mistake," she whispered, but her voice lacked confidence. The black man slowly shook his head. "No, it wasn't a mistake. Something felt wrong. I've ignored messages before, but not this. Not when it mentioned you." Emily swallowed hard. A strange heaviness filled her chest. She couldn't explain it, but a thin thread of fear curled around her heart. The groom rubbed his forehead, trying to stay calm. "So you just walked in here without thinking how it would look? Without thinking you'd scare her? Scare everyone?" The black man met his eyes. "I don't care how I look. I care that she stays alive." His words were sharp, but honest too honest. The groom stepped closer, pointing a finger in his face. "You think you're some kind of hero?" "No," the black man replied softly. "I think she's in danger. And I think whoever sent that message is somewhere close." A cold ripple went through the room. People glanced around, their eyes scanning every corner like a predator might be hiding in plain sight. Emily's father spoke up next. "Why didn't you go to the police?" The black man nodded. "I did. They told me it could be a prank. They said without proof, there's nothing they can investigate." "That makes sense," the groom snapped. "So why bring it here?" "Because when I ignored warnings in the past," he said, voice darkening, "people got hurt." Emily's lips parted slightly. She remembered the story she had read years ago, about a man who once saved children during a neighborhood attack, but lost a friend because he didn't believe the first warning call. She never knew that man was him. Until now, a woman in the back stood up nervously. "Are you saying someone here wants to hurt the bride?" Her voice trembled. The room tightened. Everyone looked around suspiciously, like the threat could be sitting right next to them. Emily took a small step closer to the black man. Her voice cracked with fear. "Why me? Why would someone want to hurt me?" "Now?" He exhaled slowly. "I don't know. But I didn't come for answers. I came to watch. To make sure nothing happens." The groom ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. "Emily, this is insane. Nothing is wrong. You're safe. This man is just confused." Emily looked at him with tired eyes. Then why do I feel like something is watching me? Even now? The hall fell silent once again. The groom tried to speak but stopped when the lights above them flickered suddenly, once, twice, then steadied. Guests gasped. A baby cried. An old woman clutched her husband's arm. The black man's eyes narrowed. That's not a normal power flicker, he muttered. Emily stepped closer to him. What does it mean? He scanned the corners of the hall. His voice dropped low. It means the person who sent that message might be inside this building. Some guests stood up instantly, panic rising. The groom shouted, "Everyone sit down. Don't create chaos." But people didn't listen. Fear spread through the room like wildfire. The black man raised his voice sharply, calm, firm, commanding. "Everyone stay where you are. Don't move." His tone had weight. Even the groom paused. Emily whispered, "Do you think the person is watching us?" He nodded slowly. "Yes, and waiting." The groom couldn't take it anymore. "This is madness," he snapped. "Emily, get away from him. He's scaring you." But Emily didn't move. She looked at the black man with wide, terrified eyes and asked the question no one else dared to. "Do you know who sent that message?" He didn't blink, didn't breathe. Then finally he whispered, "Yes." Night fell over Blackridge like a silent shadow, and with it came a strange tension, thick, heavy, almost alive. Rayan could feel it in his bones. The forest behind the old town seemed to whisper warnings through the cold wind, and every instinct inside him told him that something was coming. Something big. He stood near the broken wooden fence behind Mrs. Harlow's abandoned house, the same place where he had followed the strange metallic footsteps earlier. But tonight was different. Tonight, the air felt charged, almost electric. Even the moon seemed smaller, swallowed by clouds that moved unnaturally fast across the sky. Rayan wasn't alone. Aiden and Mia stood behind him, both nervous but ready. They had seen enough in the past few days to know danger was real. They had seen the metal creature chase Rayan. They had heard the strange signal frequency. And worst of all, they had felt its presence following them. Aiden whispered, "Why did you bring us here? What if that thing comes again?" Rayan didn't turn back. His eyes stayed fixed on the dark forest. "Because something is hiding here," he said softly. "And tonight, it wants to come out." Right then, the wind stopped. Completely. The leaves froze in place. The air became painfully still, as if time itself had paused. Mia swallowed hard. "Rayan, what's happening?" Before he could answer, a deep vibration rolled under their feet. The ground trembled like a small earthquake. The three of them backed away as cracks appeared in the dirt. Glowing cracks. Lines of bright blue light drew themselves across the ground like veins, forming a large circle. The forest fell silent. Then a mechanical roar exploded from beneath the earth. Aiden jumped back. "Run, run!" But Rayan didn't move. Something inside him, something he didn't understand, held him in place. It felt like instinct, like he was meant to be here. The ground inside the glowing circle opened. Slowly, like a metal hatch. Out of the darkness rose a towering machine, 8 feet tall, covered in reflective silver armor that seemed almost liquid. Its eyes glowed the same blue as the circle on the ground. But this was not the creature Rayan saw earlier. This one was different. Stronger. Smarter. And it looked directly at Rayan. Aiden screamed, "Rayan, move!" But Rayan couldn't. The machine's gaze was intense, like it was scanning his very thoughts. Then the machine spoke, not with a voice, but through vibrations in the air. A deep, echoing signal that Rayan somehow understood. "Subject located." Mia froze. "Subject? What subject?" "Rayan, what is it talking about?" Rayan didn't know. But every nerve in his body screamed that this moment was important. The machine stepped forward. Metal legs plunged into the soil, heavy but precise. It stopped just inches away from him, towering over him like a steel giant. Then it lowered its head. For a moment, the world felt like it stopped breathing. A panel on its chest opened, revealing a glowing core, swirling with faint symbols Rayan had never seen before. But somehow he felt connected to it, like he knew these symbols, like he had seen them in his dreams. The machine's signal echoed again. You were not supposed to be here. But now, it cannot be undone. Rayan's heart pounded in his chest. What cannot be undone? He whispered. The machine tilted its head slightly, almost like it was studying his fear. Your awakening. The ground shook again, this time from a distant rumble. Another sound followed. A deeper roar, not mechanical. Something alive. The first machine reacted instantly, turning its head toward the forest. Aiden's voice trembled. There's another one? The machine's glowing eyes narrowed. Not one. It pointed its arm toward the trees. Many. And from the darkness of the forest, glowing eyes began to appear. One pair, then 3 then 10 Rayen. Finally understood. They were not dealing with just one enemy. This was only the beginning. Run! The machine ordered, its voice now sharp, urgent. But Rayan knew the truth. They were already surrounded. The forest exploded with sound. Branches snapped. Heavy footsteps pounded the earth. The glowing eyes in the darkness multiplied until the entire tree line looked alive like a wall of creatures waiting to strike. The cold night air twisted with tension as Rayan, Aiden, and Mia stood frozen between two forces they didn't understand. The silver machine stepped in front of them, its armor shifting like ripples of liquid metal. Stay behind me, it commanded, its voice now sharp and mechanical. But Rayan felt a strange pull inside his chest, a spark of something he couldn't explain. The same energy he felt when he first touched the frequency signal. The same pull that led him here. Mia grabbed Rayan's arm. Don't you dare move. You heard it. Those things will tear us apart. But Rayan whispered, something is calling me. Before she could argue, the forest erupted again, this time with flashes of red light. The new creatures stepped into view. Taller than humans. Their bodies were made of dark, jagged metal, as if they were built from broken weapons and scrap. Red energy pulsed inside their chests like beating hearts. Their movements were fast, violent, and unnatural. One creature lifted its blade-like arm and screeched, a sound so sharp, it felt like needles stabbing their ears. Aiden clamped his hands over his head. What are they? The silver machine responded, hunters. Another creature leapt forward, landing with a force that shook the ground. The hunters formed a half circle around Rayan and his friends, trapping them against the glowing crack in the ground. Rayan's heartbeat hammered. Not from fear, from recognition. Something about these creatures felt familiar, like a memory buried deep inside him. The silver machine raised its arms. Twin beams of blue energy shot out, blasting two hunters backward. Metal crashed against trees. Sparks flew, but more hunters stepped out of the forest. 10.20 got a whole swarm. Aiden shouted, we can't fight this. We need to run. Rayan shook his head slowly. No, they came for me. The machine turned its head sharply. For your awakening. But this scale of response means they detected the surge inside you. Rayan stared at the machine. What surge? Before the machine could answer, a hunter sprinted toward Rayen. Fast. Too fast. Aiden screamed. Mia pulled Rayan back, but the hunter didn't attack. It stopped inches from Rayan, its red eyes flickering confused. Then, it lowered its head. The silver machine stepped closer, shocked. That is not possible. The hunter let out a low mechanical growl, almost like a submission signal. Rayan felt his skin tingle. The same blue energy he saw earlier now pulsed faintly beneath his own palms, as if something inside him was waking up again. Rayan, Mia whispered, her eyes wide with fear. What's happening to you? He didn't know that another hunter approached, this one slower, cautious. It extended a jagged arm toward Rayan. Rayan didn't move. The hunter touched Rayan's hand. A jolt of energy shot through him, blue mixing with red. The creature trembled violently, then dropped to one knee. Submitting. The entire forest fell silent for a moment. Even the wind refused to move. Then, every hunter in the clearing suddenly turned toward Rayan. Dozens of glowing red eyes stared at him, not with hatred, but with recognition. Rayan's voice shook. Why are they looking at me like that? The silver machine responded slowly, almost in disbelief. Because you are not their enemy. A hunter stepped forward, its voice crackling through damaged speakers. Command. Core detected. Rayan frowned. Command what? The machine answered, you. They think you are their leader. Aiden stumbled backward. He's what? Mia's breath caught in her throat. This has to be a mistake. Rayan is human. The machine didn't look away from Rayen. Double quotes. No, he is not fully human. Not anymore. Rayan's world spun. What am I then? The machine hesitated, as if the answer itself was a secret buried for years. Then it spoke. You are the last surviving hybrid. The only one who can stop the hunters or command them. The forest roared. Again, as the hunters bowed their heads in unison, Rayan felt the ground shift beneath him. His life, his identity, everything he knew was a lie. And now the truth was coming for him.